It is a very demanding piece for being very precise rhythmically, keep the drive, have the stamina. Well, one needs quite a lot of skill. But the most important thing is not to play the piece on a too easygoing way. You know, I'm a virtuoso and I just make it so without any effort. The wish of Ligeti was to feel this immense effort, to feel the useless effort, the effort in vain. And he wants really the interpreter to share with the listener his own fight for playing the piece, in order the listener to feel, well, Ligeti's effort on the California hills. When one starts to speak from bar 11, then of course one should speak in Hungarian, very articulated, the right accents, rather at the start and at the end of each small phrases. Ligeti asks to form the words clearly, and the words should be a bit plaintive. One should explain something, that there is no agreement. At bar 26, after 2 pages of terrible rhythmical difficulties, we could be tempted to relax a bit. And this would be a great mistake, because then we have to feel again a terrible effort, that we are really fighting against an enemy that will win all the time. So probably with a sound of an incredible intensity and sustain, and something like a lot of steel in the sound. Ligeti was extreme. His compositions are extreme, and we have to be extreme for playing his music. Not only in the commitment, in the big gestures, and in the loudness, also in the distance, for instance. Let's take the 2 chords at the end of bar 33 and 34. The composer wanted them like echoes of bells that don't exist, so that we have to find a sonority that is somewhere beyond comprehension. At the end of this devil-like process, at the end of the piece, Ligeti asks the pianist to play 8/40. It is not just to play twice or 3 times louder than at the end of a Brahms or a Rachmaninoff concerto. It is also an invitation to use a sound that will not be seen as beautiful in the traditional acoustic language, a sound that is almost distorted somewhere. And it is also an invitation to find a way for the interpreter to go beyond his own borders. It's almost a kind of collapse for expressing the cataclysm that happens at the end of this devil's staircase. How long should we hold the last chord, the last resonance. It's very precisely marked in the final printed score, though Ligeti told to, well, some of his interpreters that one should hold it with a full pedal as long as there is a sound, a resonance. What means sometimes extremely long. I think it's up to everybody to judge. How shall we find the resonance impossibly long? Because the piece is just unbearable and should be unbearable. But however, not too long in order not to lose the general proportions of the form. So, as ever, it's an intuitive decision to be taken on stage differently in each circumstances. Is it not surprising that Ligeti writes at the start of the piece, presto legato? Is it a traditional legato, something like... But then we lose any rhythmical elan and the character of the piece. Maybe he thinks more to the general flow, to the continuity of the piece, the fact to feel at the very start already the struggle for the final goal. We would then really articulate quite non-legato, very Hungarian, by the way. And we would then concentrate on the drive, on the direction of this continuous rhythmical flow. The fact to be climbing the same staircase all the time and to use a basic rhythmic pattern doesn't mean that the music will be monotone. On the contrary, Ligeti's imagination delivers many different acoustic situations, and we shall have the feeling here to hear, let's say, a group of keyboard instruments, xylophones, glockenspiels, and others. There to be surrounded by huge mad bells. A little later to hear a string quartet playing behind the door. And finally, to hear a double choir played by an organ.